everyone, my name is Droogie Forever, and today we're playing Bleak Dystopia. Now, as far as I'm aware, as of today, this game, unlike most of the stuff I play, is not available on Steam. I found this on the PlayStation Store, and I think it's exclusive for right now. It's really cheap. It's only $1.99. It's a short, I think, walking simulator with a story, you know, but I don't know. I don't know much more about it. I just found it and thought it looked kind of interesting and thought we would try it. Was very surprised there wasn't a PC version, but we'll play the console version. Why not? This is why I own consoles, right? I need to play games on them sometimes. I don't play my consoles enough, really, but I play a lot of shooters and I hate playing shooters with a controller. So I tend to play on PC a lot, but okay. Alright, there's a dude over here.
What was a world where every man, regardless of his...
Alright, I have to jump in here and just let you know. Okay, so the narrator, he starts at this point and then does not stop for 15 minutes. I'm not kidding. It's 15 consecutive minutes of this person speaking non-stop. Now, your main two functions in this game are to walk around, listen to the dude talk, and read notes. I don't like talking over him, but that's what I ended up deciding to do. Now, I did not decide that for about 5 minutes. I waited by this bench about 5 minutes for him to stop talking. And I got progressively more irritated as he kept on, because it's not like he talks a little and then he stops when you pick up the note. Oh no. No, he just keeps going no matter what's happening. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut out part of him talking. And I know that cuts out like the main story, but the notes are like the good part of the game anyway. You're walking around reading notes. I mean, and you get a trophy for each note you read. So that's the main part of the game. His narration, it needs either completely cut out of the game altogether, or he needs to shut up when you pick up a note. But the developer, I don't think, understood how to do that. And so it's a mess. Let's just say that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the waiting, and then we'll get into the notes. And I'll try, if I can, to cut out some, because throughout the game I got so irritated with this guy, and at one point I had to restart the game because I got stuck. Maybe I'll cut that out, I don't know. But then he started talking again, and it just, oh, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. So I'm going to cut as much of that out as possible, but reading the notes took a long time. There are so many notes in this game, so you're going to be here a while even if I cut all that stuff out. So if you don't want to know about these notes, because they all have like different professions and each one is about them, if you don't want to listen to the notes, you might not want to watch the video, because that's going to be a lot of it. So let's go. Fuck it, I'm going to read the notes and just talk over them. I'm going to turn the volume down on the game because I'm getting pissed off. Alright, I turned the volume down on the game. We're going to read. When I was 30, I got recruited to a distant land to fight in a war. Against my wishes, I went. People talk about how terrible war is, and they're absolutely right. I saw it with my own eyes, witnessed how callous men can be, and how low humans can be brought to. It was a horrible experience for me. Dead bodies littered the streets, and often people were outside begging for something to eat. It was really sad, and I was too young for that much pain. I met a little girl one day. She was alone, and I knew that there would be no one to take responsibility for her. She was only 4 at that time, and she was pretty smart. I took care of her and set her up in an abandoned warehouse not too far from my quarters. I visited with food and always made sure I locked the door behind me. I didn't want anything to happen to her. I had grown quite protective of her. I later learned that her parents died in the war I was fighting in. I adopted her, and when the war was finally over, I brought her back to my country as my daughter. She grew up to be a very wonderful girl, and I'm super grateful that I found her that fateful day. Now at 72, my daughter remains my pride and joy. She takes care of me, and really, she's all I have. I often wonder what would have happened to us both if I didn't see her or decide to abort her. She's working on having a family of her own, and I couldn't be happier. I want her to be happy.
Any government's upturn
I don't give a shit about the story at all anymore. I'm done with it. Absolutely finished. I don't care. They have completely ruined any hope of me ever giving a shit about the story. I want to read the notes, but I don't care about the story. Like that he's actually saying, I don't give a shit. Looking back now, who could have guessed that an ad in the newspaper would change my life? I often wonder what would happen if I didn't find that ad. I would have had a pretty miserable life, there's no doubt about that. My passion was to be an actress ever since I was young. Unfortunately for me, my family was very disciplined and they had strict rules. My grandfather was a general in the army and my father was a captain. They were so conservative and small minded. The women in my family didn't really have much say in the affairs of the household. They were not in support of me becoming an actress and didn't allow me to pursue my dreams. The day I saw the ad, I was so happy. I applied in secret, of course. It was for an agency called City Theaters. They were looking for students for the conservatory. They stated that those chosen will both study and work. It was too good an opportunity to pass up. When I was called for the audition, I was so happy, but I managed to keep everything in so my family wouldn't suspect a thing. I was accepted for the audition, and that was the start of a successful career for me. It was the first step in my ladder of success. Turns out I was a pretty good actress. I had acted many movies, and now, at 32 years, I've broadened my scope of career by now becoming a director. Thanks to the experience I've gained as an actress, being a director was as difficult as it should have been for me. I think they mean wasn't. I want to give other girls and boys the chance to fulfill their dreams and aspirations just as an ad in the newspaper did for me. Dude, this guy never shuts up. Who the fuck makes a game where the fucking guy never shuts up? I can't listen to him anymore. I can't. Alright, voice volume. I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. I mean, I'm just done with him. I can't listen to it. Who the fuck does that? Who makes a game like that? Why would you do that? What were you thinking? Seriously, what the fuck were you thinking? Make him shut up when you're reading the notes. That's all you need to do. Why the fuck is he just talking and talking and talking no matter what you fucking do? How are you supposed to concentrate on reading these notes when he won't shut the fuck up? It's such a simple concept. How could you fuck up the main concept of your game? Musician. I find it very strange how one's life can change drastically and everything can suddenly turn around for the worse. I was a talented singer and people adored me. Even when the world was the way it was, some people still loved hearing my music. Music was my joy and my entire life. My parents weren't supportive of me, but I still persevered. I believed that I shouldn't let them stop me from following my heart. Eventually, I had to cut them off so I could do what I really wanted to do. They wanted me to be a medical doctor, but I refused. My other siblings can fulfill their dreams for them if they wanted to. I met a guy while I was on tour. Excuse me. He was a very big fan of me and pushed me on days when I felt like giving up. We fell in love. Well, at least I fell in love with him, and I thought everything was going great. We talked about our plans for the future and how we would live. I told him I'd always wanted a family, and sooner or later I would have to quit doing music so I could focus on my family. All my hopes and dreams were dashed on the day I woke up to find out that he had left me. He stole my money and ran away. I had given him access to pretty much everything, and he took advantage of that to steal from me. My whole world shattered, and it felt like I wasn't going to survive it. Now I've quit doing music, and I don't know if I'll ever continue. I feel like I still have I think that's meant to be my whole life ahead of me. I'm 25, and I can still make something worthwhile for myself. Am I supposed to be able to get in this building? There's obviously a guy there, but I have no idea how to get in there. Alright, well there's got to be a way into the building. This motherfucker's still talking. We're over 12 minutes in at this point. Worker. Does the country have borders? This question has troubled me a lot, and I've not gotten a clear answer to it. Most people I ask claim that it's only the government that can say if we still have borders. I think that is bullshit, though. I want to see how far and wide the destruction went. If now, because of the fall of the society, countries didn't care about borders and we don't have to be segregated like we are currently. I'm a construction worker and I've had to do a lot of tough jobs just to be able to take care of myself. I'm a pretty big guy with muscles big enough to do my job well. I've been very successful working in construction. Sorry, let me turn the game volume back up now that he's not talking. Sorry, I forgot to do that. One thing I enjoy doing is playing the cello. I'm quite good at it, and those who hear me play say that it's a talent. I'm 34 years old, and I feel like I've not started living. I want to explore life, discover what this world has to offer me. I'm really tired of being stuck in one place, living the same old life the same old way. I crave adventure and fun. I want to be able to say that I have lived. I know it's possible, even with how fractured the society seems like now. That's why I'll keep asking the question, does the country have borders? I don't want to settle down like most people or have a family. They seem like petty concerns for me, and it's not something I think I should be disturbed with. I really just want to explore and finally have some answers to my questions. Author. Writing is my life. It is my sole purpose in this world, and it is what I will continue to do until the day I die. I'm currently in my 60s and in what people would call the retirement age. I'm not ready to retire, not now, probably not ever. I've published many books that have been loved by everyone. People really love and respect me as an author. It wasn't easy getting to this stage, though. It took about 10 years before my first book got popular. 14 and a half minutes in, I'm pretty sure he finally shut the fuck up. Though I certainly wasn't looking for the attention, I think that there is a certain joy that comes with knowing that your art, something you made with your hands, is out there in the world, inspiring people to be better. My purpose is to keep writing for my society. I can't ignore what is happening and focus on my life. It isn't just possible. I have written about the ills and failures of our society and government. After all, if I can't do much to change this situation, I can make people aware of what is going on in their beloved country. In all my novels, I talk about the society and the countries that are still in periods of struggle. I know that my books have touched and inspired many people, and maybe that is the satisfaction that I want. My wife and children are very supportive of my works and proud of my achievements, and they keep encouraging me. My pen is my weapon against the hardship of this world, and I won't ever drop it. At my book signings, some of the things people have said to me only reinforce my decision to keep writing. They tell me that my books have opened their eyes to see the world how it really is, and that they won't stop trying to make it a better place. What more could a writer ask for? Is that door open? Okay, it might be. Alright, so I gotta pick building or... Okay, I'm gonna go in the building. Fashion designer. Being a fashion designer with big dreams wasn't an easy thing in a world like this. What? Wasn't an easy thing in a world like this wasn't an easy thing. The writing in this is... I mean, I see a lot of grammar mistakes, but that one's really obvious. Like, you've put the same thing twice. Anyway, it seemed like our perfect society didn't give room for creatives to showcase their talent anymore. Still, I pushed forward till I got my big break. I'm currently in my 40s, and there is so much that I want to do, so much I want to see. Growing up, I had a difficult life made only worse in my youth. Life hasn't been kind to me, but I still persevered. My parents died when I was just a teenager. I was left alone. I had no one to turn to, and I had to live on the streets for a long time. I stole and did a lot of things that I'm not proud of just so I could survive. Survival was I think they meant what, was foremost in my mind, and I did anything I could just to live. Life was brutal for people that didn't have anything. No one cares about us. Many people died in the streets with no one to even bury them. I purposed within me never to end up like them. Purposed within me never to... Okay. I took charge of my own life and rewrote my own story. After all, our lives are the one thing that we have some control over. I managed to make something good out of my own life. I started to learn fashion designing, and one day I designed a dress that someone was willing to pay a lot of money for. That was how my life story changed. I opened my own fashion line, and now I'm very successful. My thought was that I would replace the land fortune with all the beautiful clothes I sewed. Maybe one day my dream will come true. Have you noticed a lot of these people ended up with, like, doing very well in life? Taylor, when I was 6, my father was martyred. It's really a tragic story. He was killed while flying the flag. His body was never recovered. They only brought back a photo and a flag that they found in his pocket. It was a photo of my father and my mother. I had to struggle on my own, and it was mostly because my mother was overcome with grief. For the first year or so, she would rarely leave the house. I had to take care of her, even at my young age. I didn't fully understand what happened. All I knew was that my father wasn't coming back. It wasn't until about a year had passed and I felt terribly sick that my mother started to take to her responsibility. She apologized and took care of me. She said she wouldn't be able to survive it if I died too. I'm 70 years old and those memories are still engraved in my mind. I feel like they had a great influence on who I turned out to be. I'm a tailor, but not the usual tailor. I don't see clothes. I'm different from a standard tailor. I work on flags, the country flag. I see them and then I paint them. Maybe it's because of my father, because he was killed while flying the flag. I just have an obsession with flags. It's not something I question. It's mostly just like a task, a job that needs to be done. I don't have a family. I live alone. Who would have wanted to put up with a miserable old sod like myself? I was fine being by myself. I don't get lonely because I have flags to paint. They take a lot of time and do well to keep my mind occupied. Why can't a salesman, why can't I find children to crowd around my shop eager to eat my candies? I work as a confectioner and I have my own shop. It's a small shop, but it provides me with everything I need. I love selling colorful candies and I make them from scratch myself. It is tough work, but I enjoy it. The look of genuine happiness and pure bliss on the kids' faces fills me with so much satisfaction. I only have a son and he's in his teenage years. My wife died from cancer just this past year. It hasn't been easy living without her, but we've managed to get by. She was really a joy to be around, and it is so sad that cancer took her away from us. Sometimes I wonder who's having the toughest time between my son and I. I know it's wrong to compare suffering, but there's just so much in the world I wished I could have shielded him from. After the disaster that happened, I haven't seen any happy children around again. My business has gone downhill too because children hardly came around to buy candies. It's really sad. The disaster that led to many deaths and destruction of properties has also planted sorrow in the hearts of many. I'm just glad that this side of town was spared from what befell the other cities. I hope that we can move on from this unfortunate incident. Ends. I think it means and ends. Learn to be happy again. At least the children should. Children shouldn't have to go through things like this. Their worries should be about little things, about their favorite shows and whether they wanted more food. I want to be able to see the smiles on children's faces as they enjoy something simple like eating candies. I believe it will happen soon. I'll keep making candies and selling them. Alright, let's go over here and check out these. Oh, there's two more over here. Chauffeur. What is going on here? That was my exact thought when I returned to my country. I used to work as a chauffeur just to support the party I was a member of at that time. I went abroad as a driver, but unfortunately I couldn't return to my country. A group kidnapped me and took me hostage. It was scary and I really thought I was going to die. I was stripped of everything I had and was released after a few months penniless. I had to find a way to get back home to my family. All my efforts to contact them weren't successful, and I couldn't even imagine what they must have been going through. They must have thought I died or abandoned them. I started doing odd jobs here and there and started working so I could afford another flight back home. It took me 23 years, Jesus, 23 years of overworking and hustling to be able to survive in the new country I found myself and to be able to show my family at home that I wasn't returning empty-handed. Now being back, I can see that so much has changed. The country wasn't as I left it. Even my family. My wife fainted when she saw me, probably thinking that I was a ghost. My children no longer recognize me. They don't know who I am. I've become a total stranger to the people I love the most. They are slowly coming to accept me back after I explained everything that happened to me when I traveled. It was indeed a misfortune. Everything I believed in is shattered. I don't even understand what happened to my beloved country, how it went from this bubbly society filled with life and colors to this dull, controlled life. I have survived in a place I didn't know before. I will survive here too. Accountant. I work as an accountant. Live a pretty basic life. Yeah, you're missing some words there. I didn't go to college though, but I had a certification for accounting from a business school. I'm interested in history. I want to learn about how the world was in the past. Did people have it as hard as we currently do now? It's almost like people have forgotten how to be happy. It's really sad. My mother and father are farmers and they live in the countryside. Their lives were simple and I visit them from time to time. Though I've tried to move them to the city, they claim that they've had enough of whatever was going on in the city and just want to live peacefully. Can't say I blame them. They've gone through a lot. They were around when the society crumpled, and when I was little, all the stories they told me about that period sounded like horror stories. It wasn't something I could comprehend, the way people were killed and the way things were destroyed. I'm in my 40s and I have a fiance. We got engaged not so long ago and we'll be married soon. I earn enough money so I know I can take care of my family. Every evening when I get back from work, I would lock myself in my room and do research on history and philosophy. They are extremely vast fields that I doubt I'll be able to exhaust anytime soon. That's what I keep researching because I want to know more. I want to understand better what happened all those many years ago has to be studied so something like that doesn't happen again. It's more like a pastime for me, something I could do to recover from work stress. History and philosophy have become my second life. I've probably learned enough to be a degree holder in those fields. I think I did both of those. I don't know. I have to go check. I can't get through there though. Here we go. Baker. Fresh bread. The smell was heavenly, simply divine. There was something about baking bread that filled me with some much satisfaction. I think they mean so. Even at 43 years old, the smell of fresh bread still brought back sweet memories. Growing up, my mother baked bread every morning to feed us. It was our staple food, and we had it for breakfast every day. I remember being in the kitchen with her, helping her out. My father was a farmer and sold his produce so we could get by. I knew we were living a hard life, but every time I saw my mom bake bread, all my worries would float away. She usually looked at peace then, too. It's a pity that they're both dead. Baking bread every morning is a habit I still have. Fortunately for me, I work at a bakery. I went to work every morning and made enough bread for everyone to eat. When I was down, I would take some home to my lovely wife and son, and we would eat together. To me, happiness is the smell of fresh bread. My wife often teases me about it, and I take it in good faith. With the way the world is presently, I think I'm lucky to be doing something I love doing for a living. Many people don't have it as easy as I do, and I hope that they will find their own source of happiness like I found mine. I really like bread. When I'm asked what I like about it, I always tell them that it's bread. What is there not to like about it? Okay. What is there not to like about it? I mean, look at it. Look at it. I've started to teach my son how to bake. He's only 6, but I know he'll grow up to love it as much as I do. And who knows, maybe I've started a family legacy. My parents would be so proud. All right, let me make sure I got this one. Poets. Did I do this one? No. I hope I can get better soon. I've missed school and all the activities I used to be involved in. It wasn't like I had a very active life in school, though, but I was learning. I think I'm one of the few people who study what their dream career is to be. My mother is a cleaner and she works really hard. She didn't get any formal education, and that is what she can do. My father works as a miner and is usually at the mines. I'm the only child. My parents say that they want to be able to take care of their children, and they know it's only one that they can take care of. I commend them for that. Some people just have children without planning for the long term. People say that I'm successful for my age. I'm in my 20s and I've published many poems. I love writing and I write poems. It's the perfect way for me to express myself, and I know I'm quite good at it. I've published a few of my poems in anthologies and they have gained limelight. People want to hear more from me, and I'm more than willing to oblige them. I was a student at the Faculty of Letters, and it was just one step in achieving my goals. I have really learnt a lot, and I wouldn't have chosen any other path. Unfortunately, now I've fallen sick, and I've had to take a break from school so I can focus on recovering and getting better. I still write from time to time, but I can't wait to be back on my feet and write with the ferocity I had before. I don't want to be a burden to my parents. I know how hard they're struggling. What the hell? That one's glowing green. Maybe I should go back in the building. Fuck, I don't know. Pianist. I'm a 32-year-old pianist. Everyone who listens to me play is always amazed. They tell me how talented I am and how I must make sure to never keep my gift hidden. I've played in different shows and concerts and I've had to travel a lot. It has been wonderful and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I love playing the piano. It's usually a moment where I can truly be myself. Alone with the notes flowing from it, it almost feels like I've been transported to another realm, one where I have complete control. I could decided where the notes began and where they would end. I think they mean decide. It was beautiful, really, and I'm grateful to my family for making sure I took those piano classes. Who knew it would work out like this? I have a big family, and we have always stuck together. Through the chaos of the world, they're the ones I know I can count on. They're my biggest supporters, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if not for them. I want to have a big family of my own someday. A family where love is evident and everyone isn't afraid to be who they are or follow their dreams. I think about my childhood sometimes. When I do, all I can remember are the screams, the noise, the dust clouds, and broken windows. I guess it must have been a traumatic moment for me, and my brain suppressed the memories. THR memories? Bruh. Whenever I asked my parents about that time, they would get sad before telling me how terrible it was. When the society crashed, no one saw it coming, and it signaled the end of most families. Not ours, though. We have strived in the face of hardship and will continue to do so. Engineer. I studied about electronics and communication in college, and I still work as an engineer now. I'm in my 50s, and I absolutely hate the fact that I'm getting old so fast. There are some things I used to be able to do easily that I can't do anymore. Now I have to be careful when I'm bending down because of my bones. When I was 30, our house burned down and my 2 children died in the fire. It was a tragic incident, and I don't think myself and my wife have recovered from it. Well, obviously I haven't, because since that incident I haven't said a word to anyone. I still hear the screams of my children sometimes. The reports said that the cause of the fire was unclear, but it was caused by some poisonous gas. I have a secret that no one knows. I own a secret printing house. I've always loved to read, and after the fire accident, I buried myself in books even more. The idea came to me one day to start up a printing press, and I did. I worked in secret. My wife knows nothing about it, and neither do my neighbors. I bought a warehouse downtown, and I made sure it couldn't be traced back to me. The reason is because I print and distribute books that have been tagged forbidden to be read in the world. I thought that wasn't unfair. People had a right to read whatever they wanted and could decide on their own. We don't need some monarchy type of government putting bans on what we can read. I mean, that has to be crossing the line in human rights. It pains me that this is what the world has become. I know that thoughts cannot be prevented, and as long as people can still think for themselves, let them be free to choose what to read. Let's see. Okay, that's pretty collapsed over there, so we're going this way. Butcher. My life has taken a turn for the better. After growing up with an abusive father, it didn't seem like I was going to have a good life. My childhood had greatly shaped how I grew up, to be honest. I was very insecure and ran at the first sign of trouble or violence. I still have scars from when my father injured me. It isn't something I wish for anyone. I left home and didn't look back when I was 18 and had to look after myself. It was the best decision I made for myself. From there on, I only had myself to focus on until I met my wife. I met my wife when I was 30, and I'll just say that she is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Maybe the only good thing, if I'm being serious. She showed me that I could live with someone and be happy. She literally turned my life around for the better. I'm grateful that I met her and that she has stuck with me all these years. She helped me unlearn all the negative ideologies that I still had even after many years. I was physically away from my father, but there were some things that were still a part of me. Now I'm 46 and life has been great. I butcher meat for work and my wife is a music teacher. She taught me how to play the guitar. When we come back home from work, we sit our children down and give them guitar lessons. It's usually a great time for us to bond and share details about our days. I made a promise to myself that if I ever had children, I would raise them in the most loving way possible, and I believe that that is exactly what I'm doing. Fisherman. I think fishing is one of the best things that I discovered for myself to do. I used to be a fabricator, and I was very good to the extent that I owned my own weapons factory. I designed many weapons for the defense of the country for years, and it made me extremely rich. The government was ready to pay a lot for the weapons that I was making, and it was great. What changed everything for me was when my son committed suicide with one of the weapons from my factory, a weapon that I designed. Felt like my whole world crashed at that point. I had to close my factory because of everything that happened. I decided to become a fisherman, and that is what I do with my life. I catch fish. I live alone in a small village at the edge of town and don't have any visitors. I thought I was doing a great job designing and making weapons for my country, but in reality I wasn't. I've seen firsthand the damage those weapons can cause, and the country would have used them to kill innocent people. It was just how war worked. My son was supposed to inherit my business, but unfortunately, that wasn't possible anymore. I regretted not spending more time with him. I guess that was part of the reason he killed himself. I'm going to assume that was supposed to be part. He felt unloved and unwanted. I'm 63 years old and I still take out my small boat myself and go out into the sea to fish. The sea calms me and fishing helps me to focus my thoughts. I don't know if I'll ever find happiness again. The only thing I can do is to live and survive another day. Toy maker. Toy making had been in my family for years. I learned how to make toys from my grandfather, and he learned it from his own father. It was pretty much all I have left of the memories they left behind. My parents died in a car accident when I was just clocking 2. My grandfather took care of me before he died when I was 12. My parents were both the only child of their parents. I know I should have been excited to start a new family, but I'm antisocial. I haven't been the same since my grandfather died. I ask wasn't sent to the orphanage, and as funny as it sounds, I, as a 12 years old, was a lot of responsibility for one orphanage. A lot of mistakes in that sentence. Not like I wanted to be kept in one. I only got a job as a cleaner after begging and promising not to be on the promising not be on the scenes, as my boss had put it. Boy, this one really needed checked, didn't it? The person I was really close with was my boss, and that was because of his family. Because of his family buys some toys from my shop. Okay, of doesn't need to be there at all, because his family, but yeah. I paid the mortgage of my grandfather's shop when I was about 15. The town had tried, but they didn't help enough. A lot of customers came in here with their families, and I will admit, though, it helped at first, but later it always seems like they are showing off a lot of affection in my eyes. Man, grammatically, this one's really wrong. I really should start 2, but I'm not sure, and 1 would want to settle down with a 56 years old. Life's been hard for me. It's been pretty tough. I sit down sometime and think about what would had happened if I made different choices, if I had begged to be part of the orphanage, but a boy should have some shame. Yeah, that one, I don't know what the hell happened there. That was translated completely wrong or something. Something really wrong happened on that note. It's fucked. Prosecutor. Being a young prosecutor has its challenges. Though I'm 34, I'm still looked down on in my field because some claim I lack the experience and foresight that they have. I am the prosecutor for people accused of being involved in the protests. Protests are basically a crime nowadays because it took a protest, if some sort, I think they mean of some sort, to destabilize the economy and have led to the destruction of a lot of lives and properties. I'm very successful in my job, and I know it will only get bigger from here. I take care of my mom, and she visits me sometimes. My dad died from a heart attack a few years ago, and my mom has been very sad about it for a long time. I am all she has now. She always tells me to be careful and not let work consume my entire life. She wants me to get married so I can be happy. It doesn't matter how many times I've told her that my job makes me happy. I don't know if I want to get married. It seems like so much stress. My family might keep me from doing my job well. Even though I'm being looked down on by many people, my success rate has made them unable to criticize me much. I'm currently working on an important case. 3 children are involved in the case, and personally, I had a lot of thoughts and feeling about it. A lot of thoughts and feeling about it. It took a lot of thought to make the right decision, but eventually they were found guilty. The decision was the supreme punishment, and I never thought it was going to be like that. I still think about it and wonder why I feel unsettled about the decision. I guess it's because they're just children. Maybe my job, it won't go down any further. It won't scroll down to the last line. Yeah, it won't go down. Whatever the last sentence is, it won't let me see it. Radio announcer. I feel like some kind of spy. I think that what I do is quite exciting. I work as a sales consultant in the store, and that is what the public only knows about me. They see me and don't look twice at me. All because people like me don't matter. We're not the ones who make a difference. My work life is pretty boring. I go to work in the morning, come back home in the evening after attending to clients and prospective clients. What they don't know is that I'm a radio presenter. As of now, there are only 2 radio channels in the country, and one of them is referred to as a ghost radio channel. This is because no one knows who manages the channel. The other radio channel is managed by the government. I'm the radio announcer of the second radio channel, the Ghost Channel, and what I do on the channel is to tell the story of an anonymous spy. It's a story I made up myself, and it's sort of like a daydream of what I think my life should be. I think I would make a great spy. After all, I've been managing the radio channel for a long time, and no one knows it's me. It feels like I'm holding a secret from the entire world. The thought fills with a kind of giddiness. People talk about my radio channel all the time. Someone even made a blog about it, and they posted updates about the channel. I also had a fan page and was quite popular. Maybe one day I will reveal myself, but for now, I'll simply enjoy everyone being in the dark about my identity. Shoemaker. It is tiring, it really is. I want to rest one day and just lay down, but there is no one to watch over my business. My 4 children were not home anymore, and as much as I hate to admit it, it is not the same without them. I'm poor, and I have to keep working if I want to survive. My first 2 children want to leave the country when they finished school, and the younger 2 were in university. They all were allowed to choose their careers, but there was not enough money to fund them. No one wants to be like their old man. At the age of 60, when some were able to enjoy being grandparents, I don't have the time to think about it within work. My kids say I stress myself a lot, that it is my business and I should rest. It is hard not having those kids around. As much as they were pains in the neck, I still loved my kids. The small apartment I rented down the hills has never been this quiet. The owner was nice to collect money when I had it, which was not always. I hardly have enough money for each day, so I'm happy the kids are making waves out there. Being a carpenter was not really all that bad, but my kids call it old-fashioned. I always tell them that I was not this privileged to choose my work when I was young, but they don't believe me. I don't really care much about the town, but I'll say there are very good people in it. I'm not really interested in talking to people, but it was not like I had the time to do so. My time is spent mostly on carpentry works. The only time I get the time to talk to the townspeople is when I'm working for them. Okay. I don't think there's anything else over that way. Let's see if this... I don't know if this goes anywhere, but I'm curious. Oh, there is something on the roof. Artist. With 2 tubes of paint, I describe what the society looks like on a blank canvas. Humans are quick to forget the sufferings of the past. It has to be immortalized somehow. I don't think this should be something that should just be glossed over. It's really my only passion right now, painting. At 51 years old, there isn't much to look forward to. I've passed my prime where I can say I want to do someone achieve something. I've passed my prime where I can say I want to do someone achieve something. Yeah, that's all wrong. I mean, I guess you could achieve something by doing someone, but probably not. Anyway, all I want to do is to paint and smoke some cigarettes, just make myself feel good. I hear the rumors people carry about me. They say that I'm a danger to the society. Simple, because I don't make eye contact with anyone or try to relate with anybody. I didn't even speak to anyone else but myself. Yes, I'm not a friendly person. What do I need friends for anyway? All I do is that at the end of each year, I hang the paintings I've finished in front of the warehouse where I live and sell them. Well, not sell exactly. All I ask for in return is a few packs of cigarettes. Some give it to me, while some give me the money to get it myself. I've met a few people who think it's a rare opportunity for them to meet me and get their hands on one of my paintings. I don't know about that. All I know is that I have images imprinted in my mind that I have to paint, else it would drive me insane, so that's what I do. I paint and I smoke. I don't suppose we could jump down here, could we? Oh. Oh. Well, we have no jump button, so I think I just got myself stuck. Bureaucrat. A 57-year-old bureaucrat. He came from abroad, but no one knows he's an agent. His job is to conduct research on the country's defense. No one here knows who I really am. It's funny how they don't even have a clue that I'm not just a civilian like the rest of them. I'm a 57-year-old bureaucrat. I come from abroad to this country, and I've been conducting a lot of research. My job is to conduct research on the country's defense. You said the same thing like 2 times and give reports back to my bosses. It isn't an easy job, and it's not something I enjoy doing, but I don't anyway. What? It isn't an easy job, and it's not something I enjoy doing, but I don't anyway. Half these notes don't make sense. Anyway, it's not like I really have a choice about it. I've already signed up for the job and I'm a man of my word. I have a family back home. Only my wife knows about what I do for work. My children don't know, and I think I'll like to keep it that way. They only know that I work for the government and that I had something to do abroad from time to time. Over here, I had no friends. It was one of the rules of the job for us not to form attachments to the things and people where we had to go and work. Banker. I had the average life. That was how it seemed like to the outside world. I'm going to assume that's supposed to be seemed. I went to work like a normal person and came back home to be with my dog. I had a happy little life with my dog. I'm sure that is what people think of me, and I guess that just a couple of months ago that would be true. I'm 46 years old and I work at the bank as a senior executive. It wasn't easy climbing the ladder at work, but I put in the work. Having a family certainly helped. I could concentrate out in long hours at work with night anyone nagging at me. Dude, what happened to the translation on this? It's all kinds of fucked. I also didn't have a lot of responsibilities. It was just me and my dog. My life started to go downhill when I went out to get the mail one day as usual. I was just expecting the occasional spam messages and letters from my bank when I came across a strange letter. Reading that letter had given me the shock. Damn it, I accidentally hit the cord, sorry, to the monitor. A shock of my life. It was from someone I didn't know, and the summary of the content of the letter was that I was being blackmailed. It felt like a dream, but I knew it was very real. The letter had clear instructions and told me to transfer money to an online wallet. I knew that those were impossible to trace. I could have gone to the police with this, but I was more afraid what would happen if the truth ever came to life. Okay. About 5 years ago, I was involved in a hit and run. I was the driver who ran. I had hit another car, and the car had somersaulted beige, landing upside down. Why are some of these notes fine and others are just all wrong all the way through? How did that happen? It's like they had multiple translators and some of them were shit. And some of them were good. I panicked and drove away. I later watched the news and saw that the entire family died, and I was the one at fault. I took my gaze off the road for a minute. The letter explained in great detail what happened that day, said I would go to jail because they had evidence. So to the outside world, I'm an average banker, but no one knows I'm being blackmailed. Police. No one knows what I go through inside my head, not even my family. I have a happy family. My wife and daughter make me very happy, but there's a secret I haven't shared with them. I often have to go the psychiatrist. It's just something that refuses to go away, even at 43. One would think that being an adult meant you didn't have many worries beyond work and your taxes. They don't know how wrong they are. I'm struggling so much trying to keep everything together, but I have to keep a calm front for everyone around me. It feels like too much work. When I was young, my father committed suicide. It was a terrible period in my life. My father was also a policeman, and maybe I'm just repeating the sins of my father. My father had to complete a secret mission that involved him killing a lot of people. He completed the mission, but it ate at him. What he had done. He was never happy after that mission. When he died, a note he left was discovered. He wrote, "When a lot of blood is shed, there will be prosperity for society. If so, why does my soul hurt?" Anyone could see that what he did weighed on his soul heavily. I don't know why, but I just can't get it out of my head. The fact that I'm also working as a police isn't even helping matters. That's why I keep going to the psychiatrist, hoping that my trauma can be cured. It's something I really want to be free of. I have nightmares of my father surrounded my dead bodies. Other nights, it's me who is surrounded by dead bodies. I just hope everything stops someday. I keep hoping, and it is the only thing that keeps me going. Well, I'll do this one while I'm here. Conductor. I'm a retired conductor, and I often think about my life working on the steam train. It was a very stressful and taxing job, but I got the bills paid and I wasn't complaining. Besides, I've stopped working now and I don't really have much to do with my life. I don't have a family. It was something that always seemed bothersome to me. I had many friends though, and we hung out from time to time. Due to my work on the steam train, I've gone abroad many times. I can't even count how many trips I've been on in total. Many people got in the train, and I got to see all manner of different people. Everyone had a different way of life, and it was really fun to see. I recorded them all in my memory. I saw the bust dads, the tired mums, and the teenagers not knowing what they were going to do with their lives. I saw them all. At the end of the day, I came to a conclusion. There was something all these people had in common, even in their pursuit of whatever it was that kept them going. At the end of the day, everyone had only one wish. It wasn't more money, though they chased that endlessly. It wasn't to have more jewelry or more cars. What I understood from my years of working on the steam train and observing them was that people's one wish was to have peace. It was the reason they chased money so much, so they could reach a point in their lives where they had peace. And to be honest, that's what I want too. Genuine peace, though it's proving hard to have in this world that has gone to pieces, but I know that it's more than possible, and I constantly wish and pray for all those people I saw come and go on the steam train that they eventually find peace too. Peace sells, but who's buying? Bus driver. What a simple life I have. I often marvel at myself. I work as a bus driver and I drive the same road every day. To be honest, I'm having the best time of my life. I know that there are people that will look down at me with pity, but I'm sure I have more satisfaction with my life than they did with theirs. I'm in my 40s, and when I'm not driving the bus, I'm spending the rest of my time studying philosophy. I've had to unlearn a lot of things, and learning philosophy has really changed the way that I see the world. I used to be very rich, stinkingly so. My father is a wealthy businessman, and he lives abroad. I left him because I was angry. My father was driven by greed and this unquenchable desire to make money, at all costs. I've witnessed him do some terrible things, all in the name of money. I decided I wasn't going to be a part of that anymore. I couldn't in good conscience work for him or be under him when I knew of his practices. My father has called me to join him several times, sometimes pleadingly, sometimes with threats, but I have refused to go. I understand why he keeps calling on me. Apart from the fact that I'm his son, I happen to be his only son, and he wants me to take over the business. He doesn't want it to fall in the hands of a stranger. Well, unfortunately for him, being a bus driver has proven to be great for me. I don't have to do much besides drive all day, and driving is something I happen to enjoy. I also get to see all manner of people get on my bus. It's entertaining and refreshing. I'm not giving up this life anytime soon. Aerospace engineer. My dream finally came true. Ever since I was little, my only dream was to reach the stars. I was so fascinated with stars and outer space. My parents encouraged me and bought me telescopes and books about space travel. I was always trying to know more about how the stars could hang above us so prettily. Of course, I grew up and learned that stars weren't that little. They just appeared like that because how far they were from Earth. I still wanted to explore space regardless. It just seemed like this mysterious place, and I wanted to know its secrets. I studied researches of studies conducted in space and digested all the information regarding astronauts. That was what I wanted to do with my life. Unfortunately for me, things like space travel institutes don't exist anymore. The world is still focused on rebuilding. After college, I went abroad and did some more research about space and all it entails. I'm aware now that it isn't possible for me to reach the stars literally, but I still wanted to go to outer space. When I came back to my country, I founded the Aviation Institute. It seemed crazy back then, but I was determined. We had to be able to explore the world outside our planet, even now when it seemed like it wasn't important. Sooner than later, scientists, engineers, and technicians started to work in the institute that I founded. My parents were there with me every step of the way, supporting me with advice and sometimes even with funding. The Aviation Institute started to get donations from wealthy individuals who were also excited to develop space travel knowledge with me. I'm currently 28, and I've been interviewed several times and called the most successful person still in their 20s. I feel like just opening that wouldn't make you, like, unbelievably successful, but what do I know? Athlete. Often when I come back from practice, I look around at the street I grew up in, and I'm transported to how my life used to be. I remember the days I ran around to cook dinner before my father came back. My mother had left when I was little, and my father still refused to tell me the reason why. Sometimes I wonder if she truly did it on purpose, or if she truly wanted me. I always tell Father that I'm going to make him proud. I was one of the best athletes in the country, and as wild as it may seem, I think I might make it to the Olympics with a little more practice. I always dream of the day I would run the tracks at the Olympics and wonder if Mother would recognize me on television. At 24, it probably is embarrassing that I keep yearning for my mother, but I just have a lot of questions for her. My mind won't ever be at rest till those questions are answered. My father has been a miner since I could remember. It is fascinating how he doesn't complain much about back pains. He still feels guilty about mother leaving us, so he put it on his shoulders to take care if both of us. He always say he wish he could be more, but he is more than enough. During a while, I realized the problem would have been with mother and not with him. I remember the day I was among the top athletes in our country. I felt proud of myself. Mother should have heard too. Father did say she doesn't live far. Officer. What a boring life. I'm pretty sure not everyone can survive living a life like mine. I'm 38 years old and I work as a civil servant. My job is to literally just to read about a dozen files each other. Okay. I often wonder how I found myself in this life. I don't like my job. In fact, there is little that makes me happy. It's not like I have a wife or family to come home to. It was just me. Living alone, doing things myself. I don't have friends either, and maybe that's not a good thing. I just don't know how to form friends. I have a few work buddies that I talk to, but outside of work, we don't talk or have anything in common. I've been playing the harmonica ever since I was little, and I've always had questions. I wondered if all the songs are similar. If the songs of the waiting people carry the same tunes, or if everyone is waiting the same way. I don't have any answers to it, but I still ask the question in my mind. I still play the harmonica at home, and I have plenty of them. It's like a collection. I think I'm the only one who loves harmonicas this much. I mean, it's such a boring hobby for a boring man. I'm 38 years old, and I don't have anything that drives me or inspires me. Apart from playing the harmonica, I don't think there's anything else I like doing. I should be grateful to my dad for teaching it to me. I should be grateful, but sometimes I'm resentful. He could have taught me about different wonderful things rather than just the harmonica. He raised me alone, and maybe that's why it turned out the way I did. Translator. I love my daughter so much, but hardly a day goes by that I don't think of my husband. I'm a 38-year-old woman, and I've been raising my two daughters by myself for a couple of years now. It hasn't been easy, to say the least. I didn't realize how hard single parents had it. My husband was a lieutenant, and he worked in the Army. I don't know if he's still working there. When the whole destruction started and everywhere was unstable, he sent us to the farthest part of the country and asked us to live there. The plan was for him to join us later on. He sent us to somewhere safe so we would not be harmed. He claimed it was dangerous staying where he was, and I understand. We all did. I used to work as a translator before we moved, and after a couple of months, I got a job to work as a translator over here. I had to work to be able to provide for my girls. I still clung tightly to the hope that my husband was going to join us soon. Now I don't know what has happened to him. I don't know if he's dead or alive, if he's still trying to reach us, or if he has made a new life for himself. Every night I think about him, and I pray that we can be reunited soon. I don't want to lose hope, but it's hard sometimes. My girls are starting to forget him, and I try not to let that happen. Before, they used to ask me questions about him and when he was coming back. I always told them that he was going to be back soon, but now it seems like a far away. And then again, it won't let me scroll down to that last part of the sentence. Faraway dream, maybe? I don't know. It looked like one word and just short, but. Librarian. I think about the impact my article has made among people, and I'm happy with the results. Everyone who reads the article has been asking and thinking about which statesman I am. They don't know I'm just a humble man working in a small bookstore. I'm a history teacher, and teaching history is great for me. It's not good for one to forget his roots. That's what I tell my students when I teach them. I'm 54 years old and I live alone. I think my father has a role to play in who I have become. He was a farm worker and was killed during a raid when I was little. Although I can't remember him clearly, there is an incident I can never forget. I remember my father defending his rights by forming a group with his friends. Together, they fought against injustice and tyranny and made great headway in freeing those that had been deprived of their rights. I remember them meeting in our small house then and my father giving a very inspiring speech. I always thought he was some sort of hero. Now, sharing an article that has become popular has filled me with great joy. I know my father will be proud of me. I didn't publish the article with my name, but rather with a nickname. Someone can trace it back to me. Even though the article speaks in support of equal rights and fair treatment of others, I'm being careful so what befell my father won't happen to me. It's great that the people think I could be a statesman. I'll just be in the shadows for now. Doctor, life. It can deal you with the worst possible hands. My life was going smoothly till an event happened that set a roller coaster of misfortunes and sorrow for me. I had a happy life, and looking back now, it seems like I took a lot of things for granted. I was happy then, not anymore. I grew up in a loving home. My parents lived me a lot, and I was their only child. I walked in my father's path of career and became a successful medical doctor. I was their pride. Things fell apart when my father was accused of murder and was imprisoned. It felt like a dream. I didn't believe it. My father was trained to save lives, not harm them. He was accused of some killing political leaders and was found guilty in court. He was sentenced to prison. My mother couldn't take the heartbreak and shame, and she killed herself. I still remember walking into the living room to see her lying dead on the floor, a bottle of some pills beside her. I had tried to wake her up, and I quickly called the hospital, but it was evident that she was already dead. I dealt with the grief and moved on with my life. I stayed alone and rarely relate with other people outside of the hospital. Now I'm 37 years old, and it has just been revealed that my father is innocent. All those wasted years, the fact that it was his imprisonment that led to my mother's death. Everything feels surreal. I keep asking myself if this isn't a long nightmare. It feels like it is. I'm working on my father's release now, and it's the only thing I'm looking forward to. Having him back after so many years. Now we can live together and maybe someday heal together. Nurse. Sometimes I just want to curl up into a ball and cry for hours. I don't. Instead, I go to work and smile. I live alone, and as a 37-year-old woman, it can get pretty lonely. I visit my mom from time to time, and we talk about work and life. She works as a nurse, and I happen to find myself in the nursing profession also. There's been this friction between us, this strain on our relationship ever since my dad left. He was a soldier, and growing up I got used to not seeing him for long periods of time. Then he would come, and there would be life and joy in the house. My mom always felt better when he was around. I did too. They summoned my father to duty some years ago, and it wasn't something new. He got summoned all the time. The only thing different about this time is the fact that my father hasn't returned. No call, no letter, and no single word from him. It's almost like he has disappeared from the face of the world. There is no news of him either. We don't know what has happened to him. He may be dead for all we know. My mom confessed to me one day that she wished they would bring news of his death. She said not knowing was much worse. If he was dead, then we would be able to grieve properly, but now it's almost like we're stuck, like there's no moving forward until we know the truth. I think it's a big part of why I haven't been able to settle down with anyone. I don't know if I can open myself up to someone else, and I always run away at the first hint, if attachment. It's all because deep down I'm scared that they will leave me and it will hurt too much, so I make, and again, it won't let me scroll down to the last sentence. Scientist. I grew up in a poor household. My parents were practically peasants. It was from there that I developed resilience, and that has helped to push me forward in my life. It was either to wallow in self-pity or to rise up and make something out of my life. I chose to do the latter. I believe that agriculture is essential and important to the country's economy. That's why I've invested so much into it. I'm a scientist, but most of my experiments have revolved around agriculture because that what was I majored in. Growing up, we didn't have much to eat. Sometimes we would only manage to eat just once a day. Life was terrible. I resented my parents so much for giving birth to me, just for me to come to a life of suffering. They tried hard to find work, though, but with how crumpled the society was, they couldn't find enough to do to be comfortable with their lives. I lived a hard life, but managed to educate myself. As soon as I could work, I myself out in the field. I started doing odd jobs and started to get more money. I sent myself to school and studied agricultural technology. That was when I got so invested in agriculture. People shouldn't struggle so much just to eat and survive. The purpose of my study was to increase productivity in agriculture. I'm 60 years old now, and I believe that I am achieving a lot. A delegation examined my work. They took samples from my experiments and took them abroad. I thought it would be a stepping stone for me to further my career and to help my research reach everywhere. After a while, though, my work hasn't still been studied, researched, translated, or even banned as harmful. Okay, so at the beginning, I talked to that guy. Those were the first two notes we got at the beginning. So let's go over this way. Okay, there's something down here. Activist. The world can be better. I believe it now after years of my wife drumming it to my ears. I met my wife when I was 25 and wasn't even looking for a relationship. I was just living my life, doing the next thing to further my career and just hanging out with friends. Excuse me. Her boldness had fascinated me. She was never one to keep quiet about gender inequality, and she was always at the forefront of any feminist movement. It was beautiful to see someone stand up for something that they believed in. Her passion won me over, and I'm just glad she's as passionate about me. My wife is a writer, and she has written many books about the impact of gender on society, art, and culture. She writes about how women have been looked down on and pushed aside so much that we don't even know what's right anymore. A lot of people agree with her, mostly women, and that's without saying. She is advocating for their rights, after all. Now I'm 32 years old, and we have 2 beautiful children. I took up writing shortly after they were born, and I found it to be quite enjoyable. It's a great way to express myself, and it really helps to keep my mind less cluttered. Most of the things I do is to keep my wife happy. She's the one with the big dreams. For her ideal future, women had to be conscious, and that is what she's working towards. That's also why every evening, I'm sorry. That's why every evening I would invite women to our house and we would discuss politics and economics at great length. The change begins with us. Everyone sees us as activists, but really, we just want a better world for our children and in turn, their own children. Instructor. He is 42 years old and a lecturer. His field is political science and international relations. For him, all ideologies are sacred, but for the ideology to be successful, the people must adopt it. He came here for research a lot of years ago and got married an instructor. Then he settled here. He used to organize seminars with his wife every week and educate the society. All ideologies are sacred. That's what I believe. All ideologies are sacred, but for the ideology to be successful, the people must adopt it. Someone different translated this one because it's weird. Any wise government or person in power knows that the real power is in the hands of the people. Once the majority of a population can agree on something, it is as well as done. Even the Bible accounts that God had to stop people from cooperating to build a tower that reached into the heavens. And that is because there's almost nothing that can stop a large group of people who have set their mind on something. This country isn't my birth country, but I've decided to settle here. I came here for research about 15 years ago, and it was a fruitful experience. I met my wife that same year, and I decided to stay back and see where my new path might lead. She was an instructor, and we always had lots to talk about. We shared our views concerning different issues and never ran out of topics to talk about. I fell in love with her gentle spirit and confidence. She was so sure of herself, and it was a trait I admired so much. After about 2 years of us dating, I asked her to marry me, and she said yes. She made me a happy man that day. I'm 42 years old now, and I still hold dearly to my beliefs. My wife and I hold seminars every week, and we educate the society. It is our way to giving back to the world. If people's views were changed for the better, this world can progress and finally see some real development. Adventurer. I have always been a curious person. My parents said that as a child I asked the weirdest questions. I wanted to know why everything was the way it was. I don't think it's something I can control. There's just this urge to understand things around me. I grew up in a world destroyed by people, broken down buildings and structures everywhere, and I just wanted to know how it all went wrong, how a seemingly perfect society could have been reduced to this. It all boiled down to people. That's what I discovered. People hate being caged or feeling like they are. They want their freedom, and they don't know that rules exist for a reason. It's to protect us from ourselves. Without rules and laws, there would be mayhem, nothing or no one to control the excesses of human behavior. It explains why the society crumpled to almost nothing when the government was compromised. People were free to do anything, and crime prevailed. Humans are inherently selfish. At 33 years, this is what I've learned. Now I travel around and just try to see the world from other people's views. I love adventures, and there's this urge to just know more and experience more. I've seen many places, but it's still not enough. I want to find someone to settle down with someday. My parents love each other deeply, and it would be great for me to find someone like that too. I don't know if my way of life is something anyone can put up with, though. I'm constantly on the move and never in one place for a long time. Most people hate change and want stability. I know I can't provide that, but I really want to fall in love with someone and have my own family. Alright, I'm thinking there's nothing else down here. Scriptwriter. My dream ever since I was little was to shoot documentaries, and I got into that path. Oh wait, one's the platinum though. I studied film and everything surrounding it in school and finally started to create my own documentaries. I worked on creating documentaries for years about people, about places. I just really love to tell stories, and when I tell people this, they wonder why I didn't become a fiction writer. My reply usually was that I think the places and people we can see haven't had their stories told, so why would I tell the stories of imaginary people? Something great happened to me one day. I was in a forest recording and documenting when I came across this beautiful woman. She was a photographer from abroad, and she came here to do some sightseeing and wanted to capture some moments before she went back to her country. We started talking and discovered we had a lot in common. She saw my documentaries and practically begged to be a part of what I was doing. I agreed immediately. I saw her pictures. B was very good at her job. BE was very good at anyway. One day we went on a trio to do research on the documentary we planned to work on. On this trip, something unfortunate happened. A poisonous gas was leaked, and we were bother poisoned. I woke up in the hospital only to find out that she had died. It felt like a physical force had hit me. That was how painful the news was. I couldn't believe it, that she was gone just like that. She had so much potential. She had only started to live. I mourned her for years. I'm 36 years old currently. I mourn her still. She was a bright light in my life, and I won't be forgetting her soon. Journalist. I love my job. It gives me the chance to live different lives. I'm a researcher and a journalist, and I travel to different parts of the country wearing different kinds of clothes. The clothes serve as my disguises, and I use them to gather information. Not the clothes, my disguise. Sometimes I'm a banker wearing an expensive suit. Sometimes I'm a new chef trying to find his feet in a local place. My disguises vary according to where I'm going to and the kind of information I had to gather. I collected information from my book. The book was filled with information that was completely hidden from everyone. I printed the book and distributed them, but it seemed like things weren't going well. There were a lot of controversies regarding the book. One day I decided to go out. I got up that morning and hugged my children before getting in my car. My last thought was that there was something ticking in the car, and before I could get down to inspect, nothing. What? The 45-year-old journalist died in a car explosion. A bomb was rigged into his car, and it was the cause of the explosion. Investigation is still underway to find the murderer of the journalist. Some people think that the book released by the researcher could have led to his death. The police are not quitting their efforts, and justice must be delivered. As of now, there has been no evidence to suggest who the killer might be. Daily News Live, and then again, can't scroll down to the last sentence. Teacher. Being in my 70s, I really just want to rest most times, but it is impossible for me to do so. I have been searching for my twin brother for a long time now. There's the platinum. For a long time now. When we were 9, our parents died in the war. The war was brutal, and it had no regard for families or friends or human dignity. It tore families apart, killed friends, and reduced humans to become as animals. My brother and I ended up in an orphanage with children like ourselves, those who had no place to call home anymore. What kept us going was the hope to live a just and dignified life and the love we had for each other. Every evening after lights out, we would discuss what real hope was to us. Did it mean a happy family or a prosperous society? After a while, an American family came and adopted my brother. We had both cried and pleaded to be taken together, but the family insisted that they only needed one child. I promised my brother I would find him someday, hugging him close to me before he left. He was always the softer of the two of us. I have been looking for my brother for years now. I have traveled far and wide, all to no avail. I got a job as a teacher after I left the orphanage, and I would teach my students about happiness. What did it really mean? Was happiness a perfect society, or was it subjective? I taught only the concepts of happiness and hope to my students. We need good people. No matter how hard I looked for my brother, my efforts proved abortive. The country has no borders anymore. How was one supposed to find anything when one didn't know where to look? I still have hope that I will find him someday. I know he's still alive. I guess that's Bleak Dystopia. I guess if I can figure out if there's an ending, I'll tack it on. But for now, this is the end. I hope you enjoyed the video. I killed my voice so that I could read all those notes to you. Because to me, that was the interesting part. Not the asshole talking for 15 fucking minutes straight and not letting us experience the story of the notes, you know? I wanted to know about each of these people, and it was pissing me off that his story was interrupting us. I still don't know or really care what the story was about, because I wanted to learn about all the people. And that's what all the achievements are. Like, anyway, they did that all wrong. All kinds of wrong, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, though. If you did, I know it's a long one, but hopefully you stuck in there. So anyway, if you liked it, tell that like button you want to smash, and don't forget to subscribe. You stay you, I'll stay me, Drugi forever. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video. Later.